What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Keeping Up with the Commanders. Today, we are going to be ranking my top 5 2022 running back prospects in this upcoming draft. There are many solid day 2 to day 3 guys in this draft for the running back spot, and I definitely think these guys could be some day 2 or day 3 steals if they do go to the right place. Now, I want to say I haven't scouted everyone yet. There are still some that I haven't, but the ones I have scouted so far are Kenneth Walker out of Michigan State, Isaiah Spiller out of Texas A&M, Breece Hall out of Iowa State, Damien Pierce out of Florida, and Hassan Haskins out of Michigan. I'm going to rank just these 5 for today, and if you want to see my final rankings of all the running back prospects, which will come out probably in a week or two before the draft, then go ahead and follow my TikTok. It's going to be the link in the description below at the Sports Lion. First, I want to say some honorable mentions at the running back spot that will probably shake up some of these top 5 spots once I scout them. First is Dalvin Cook's brother, James Cook, out of Georgia. Then Brian Robinson Jr. out of Alabama. Tyler Goodson out of Iowa. Rashad White out of Arizona State. And Zamir White out of Georgia as well. At the number 5 spot, I have Damien Pierce out of Florida. He's a 5'10", 215-pound power back, and he was in a backfield last season with 3 running backs out of Florida that really kind of just rotated through after every play or every 2 plays. No one really got a lot of carries or a lot of attempts, and no one really came out as the true number 1 back until really at the latest season where, Pierce was really shown as the best back, I would say, in Florida's backfield. Some of the pros for Damien Pierce is his strength. He can break tackles with ease. And when I mean break tackles, he just keeps on moving, always falls forward, so he always gains that 1 or 2 extra yards. And when you think he's going to get tackled, he always just keeps on moving and will pick up an extra 2, 3, 4 yards maybe for you, which could lead you to a big first down. Also, something that stood out to me was his receiving ability at 215 pounds. He can go out on a little flat route or go out of the backfield on a little seam down the middle of the field. This guy, he can pick up some big yards for you, and he can reach out and grab the football. His receiving abilities are probably one of the most underrated talents that he has. Now to his cons, he is 5'10", and one of the smaller running backs in this draft. A lot of running backs in this draft, or a lot of the top ones, are over 6 foot tall. 215 pounds is most of the running backs are 220 or a little bit over 220. 215 is not bad, though. And his vision as well is a little bit of a con. If he doesn't see a hole, he won't try and create one, or he won't anticipate one coming open. He kind of just creates on stuff on his own, which could lead to basically only a pickup of 1 or a stuff at the line of scrimmage. His vision is not the best out of these top 5 at all. Overall, I definitely think that Damien Pierce has a lot of upside, and drafted to the right spot, he definitely could thrive. And I definitely think getting the opportunity to perform will definitely be a big part of Damien Pierce's career in the NFL. I could see Damien Pierce going from anywhere being drafted in round 3 to round 5 or round 6, depending on where other running backs will land and whether NFL GMs have him high on their list. At the number 4 spot, I have Hassan Haskins out of Michigan. Hassan Haskins is most known for his 5-touchdown killer that basically sent Ohio State out of the college football playoff spot. And I think Haskins could be a solid backup power back for a lot of teams in the NFL. I don't really see him, though, as coming out to be a starter. He is very similar to Damien Pierce, but I feel like he's a little bit better in everything than him. He's slightly taller, slightly heavier, 6'1", 220 pounds. And he was pretty much the highlighted back in Michigan's backfield. They didn't really have anyone else to compete with him, and this led to a lot of carries for Haskins, which could be a con down the road. He has 450 carries in his career so far. Although, 450 is not bad, or it's not good, but it's not bad. I don't think it'll affect him that much down the road. I definitely think he might have a year or 2 that he does pretty well if he gets the opportunity. And overall, I see Hassan Haskins landing in pretty much the middle of the 3rd round to probably the middle of the 4th round. He's pretty solid, but I just don't feel like he's going to be that guy, and he's going to be like a 3rd round bust, I would say, for most teams. Now here for the top 3. These 3 I don't think are going to change once I scout the rest of the group, because these 3 are the top 3 backs in this draft, and I don't think anyone really says anything otherwise. At number 3, I have Isaiah Spiller out of Texas A&M. He is 6'1" and 216 pounds. Also, he's only 20 years old. He is definitely, I would say, the best all-around back in this class. He has solid speed, he can find the hole, he can anticipate it, he has pretty solid power, and he can also run out of the backfield and catch a football too if he needs. And now this is where things get a little bit sketchy for Isaiah Spiller. I mean, he can be one of the best all-around backs in this draft class, but he does have a fumble issue. He has fumbled 8 times in 3 years, and each one of those was only won in one game, besides one game against Mississippi State where he fumbled twice. This is definitely the worst fumble issue out of these 5 guys. Most of them are pretty solid. They don't fumble that much. Damien Pierce doesn't fumble that much, but he isn't really the guy that is known for keeping care of the football. Also, Isaiah Spiller isn't the best blocker as well. I mean, you kind of just shove someone a little bit, but he won't really try that much on blocks, or the speed from the outside linebackers will just get past him. Even though he has these 2 problems, I do think him being a very balanced back outweighs his fumble problem and stuff, and I definitely could see him going into the second round, mid-second or late second. I don't really see him going early in the second or late in the first. Now Kenneth Walker III out of Michigan State. Now this kid had the biggest breakout year of any running back in college football last season. This guy had 1,600 plus yards, 18 touchdowns, and an average of 6.2 yards per rush. This was absurd numbers that we saw from Kenneth Walker last year. He also came out as the Heisman frontrunner at one point last season. He was having a really good year. He is definitely the fastest running back in this draft. I gave him, I believe, an 8.2 out of 10 in the speed category, and this kid, he can breeze right past your entire defensive line or in your secondary if they're not paying attention. With this speed, though, he doesn't really have a lot of power. He's a really small back, probably one of the smallest in this entire class, and this could be an issue for getting, if you're going to run it inside, but getting it to the outside, if you can get Kenneth Walker outside the numbers, it's over. It's over. You've got yourself a long touchdown, because this guy can just run past most of the corners, and I mean, he has some pretty good elusiveness too. I can see Kenneth Walker also going somewhere in the second round. Him maybe a little bit higher than Isaiah Spiller, but I definitely think some GMs might be a little bit cautious, because it really only was one good year for Kenneth Walker, and he got, I believe, almost 300 carries or something, or 270 carries, which in one season was a lot. And at number 1, I have Breece Hall out of Iowa State. This shouldn't really be a shocker. I think Breece Hall is a unanimous running back 1 in this draft class for most NFL GMs, or pretty much all NFL GMs, because this guy, he can do it all. He has 1,400 rushing yards last year, 20 touchdowns. He also had 10 less attempts on the ground than Kenneth Walker. His vision is something that is just incredible to watch. He can anticipate holes in the offensive line before they even open up. He can cut back from one side to the other and not get tackled, or not, I mean, I guess it's mostly from the offensive line, but the offensive line won't get called holding because of it. And I definitely think he could be the next, Jonathan Taylor in the NFL, because Breece Hall is just an incredible running back to watch. And I also think that if a team signs him that needs a running back, and he has to battle out for the running back 1 spot on a team, then he most likely will win, because Breece Hall is just phenomenal to watch. He's also 6'1", 220 pounds, which will help him in the big league as well. He's also only 20 years old, so you can also keep him on your bench and make him let him learn, let him watch for a year, and he's only going to be 22 the next season. So it's just going to be incredible to watch. That's it for another episode of Keeping Up with the Commanders. Next week I'm going to have wide receivers, and there are a whole lot of wide receivers that I want to talk about, and wide receivers are also something that Washington could pick up. So I can't wait for it, and hopefully you guys can't wait for it too. This week, that's my top 5 running backs: Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, Isaiah Spiller, Hassan Haskins, and Damien Pierce. See you guys in the next one. Peace.